Hey guys, Matt here. This is my review of The Equalizer 3. This movie is directed by Antoine Fuqua, who previously directed Training Day and the other Equalizer films. This movie stars Denzel Washington. Plot of this movie is Robert McCall is dismantling a crime syndicate, if you will, and he gets injured, and he must be nursed back to health. And while doing so, he's in this small town in Sicily. There he learns about the town and its people, and he learns that the town is full of good people, but with the good comes the bad. And if you know anything about Robert McCall and injustice, he puts an end to them pretty quickly. Going into this movie, I was really excited because not only was this another Equalizer film, I really enjoyed the first film. The second one left a little more to be desired, but I was like, hey, if Denzel Washington has decided to make a third movie in a franchise, something he never does, and we're bringing back Antoine Fuqua to direct, this movie must be good. It must be appealing to him. And the trailers came out, and they made it seem as if Robert McCall was going to meet his match, was going to meet his equal, but an Italian version of it. So I was really intrigued to see what they were going to do. I kind of felt the second film had some finality to the character of Robert McCall. But if they're making a third one, and it's in theaters, it's got to be worth checking out, right? Well, having seen the movie, I can honestly say that I did enjoy it. It's not my favorite, and it did leave me a little disappointed. Here's why. Let me start with the acting in this movie. Denzel Washington as the Equalizer. At this point, if you haven't seen the other films, you might be a little off-put by his character because Denzel Washington is all smiles, very charismatic, and usually he's an authority figure of some sort. And here, his character is very calm, very stoic. A lot of times he seems almost grumpy. Not irritated, not, a mean guy, but just very quiet, very observant. So, if you're not used to that type of Denzel, this movie may not be for you. But for those that have seen the other films, Robert McCall is very observant, very quiet, very stoic. He watches a lot. And this movie tends to focus a lot on the eyes, religion, good versus evil, that type of thing. So it's a very different type of Denzel Washington role. So majority of this movie is Robert recuperating from an injury he suffers early on. Majority of this film is at a very slow pace, and so therefore the movie kind of drags. A lot of this movie is about Robert regaining his strength, healing, recuperating. So he's watching the town, its people, how they interact. He interacts with about 4 or 5 individuals in particular, and he sees how this gang, this Camorra, affect their lives. And then he decides, once he's fully healed up, that he needs to put an end to this. But my big issue with the film is that when Robert decides to put his foot down and say enough is enough, these townspeople have suffered at your hands no more, that it's just a clean swipe. There's no challenge for him. Now, I understand that these movies are set in reality, where a guy that's this good, that's been around for this long, is going to be able to manhandle some punk kid like it's nothing. And yeah, you have a guy that's been trained for years and years, able to wipe out these people that know nothing about him as well. That's realistic. But we're here to watch a movie. As an audience member, that doesn't make the plot or these characters or the action scenes enjoyable. If you're going to have just your good guy, just do a clean sweep with no challenges, no equal, no struggle, because there's no drama there. There's no tension. If you just have the good guy make his presence known and then just wipe everybody out, I mean, I get that's in line with this character and this universe they've set up, but as an audience member, that's not really entertaining, and that's not the kind of movie that I want to see. One thing I did enjoy about this movie is there's a subplot involving a character played by Dakota Fanning. And this was nice to see because Dakota Fanning and Denzel Washington previously co-starred in Man on Fire back in 2004. And so to see them all grown up, if you will, that was a nice touch. She plays a CIA agent that he includes in his dismantling of this crime organization. There's a reason why, and they reveal it at the end. I thought that was a nice touch to the story of Robert McCall. But while he dismantles things on the inside, in a different fashion, she tends to dismantle things on the federal level legally, if you will. So she's kind of the government, and he's like the inside man, giving her tips and pointers and helping her out along the way. So their chemistry was nice. Also, this movie does a weird thing where the big bad in this movie, he's intimidating and he's scary, but he's not very tough. We don't really get to see what he can do. The other antagonists in the other two movies, they were forces to be reckoned with. They were like, oh, it's going to be really cool to see these guys go fisticuffs with Robert McCall. Here, you don't really get that. You get like this crime lord, but he doesn't really have a whole lot of fighting experience, at least what we're shown. He may have this backstory of like this really tough guy, but I guess in the end, I was expecting something more like Extraction 2 with Chris Hemsworth. A bad guy that can really go toe to toe with Robert McCall. And because we didn't get that, because we got, a villain that was a bunch of talk, and we never got to see any struggle. We never got to see too much of the villain show any fear or anger towards Robert McCall. That's what I wanted to see out of this movie. I wanted the villains to feel something after seeing and being in the presence of Robert McCall, and we didn't really get that, and so the movie felt a little one-sided. And one thing I did like about this movie is that the score, the music was kind of like Saw music with like a record scratch, so like it was intimidating and it was really cool to hear because you knew it was building and something was going to come, but when the movie climaxes and it's finished, you're left a little disappointed. And I hate to say that about a franchise that I really enjoy. So, because this movie had good music, Denzel Washington is always good, but the plot felt a little disappointing. It was all build and then really no substance in the end. I'm going to give The Equalizer 3 a B-. So until next time, guys.